about an even 100 degrees in the shop today. So I gotta have the fans on to keep from melting. So I'm gonna do a lot of screaming, which will most likely turn into a voiceover. On this engine, this cylinder head is original to the vehicle and everything contained in it. So it's good to go, we don't have to do anything with it. This cylinder head's brand new, along with the block. But I'm going to be putting in all the original components, including both camshafts and our valve tappets, or as I like to call them, buckets. So that means we got to do some measuring. So I got to put the cams in it, and then we got to measure the clearances to see if they're correct or not. I've simply taken all the buckets out of the original head and put them in the same locations they were in the original head. Doesn't mean they're going to be right. Let's hope they are. And the keyway on the engine is at 9 o'clock, facing that way. And that puts all the pistons down below the deck. So I can put both camshafts in with no chains, and I can rotate the cams all day so I can get them, you know, where I need it for the measurements. In this case, base circle. And as the valves open and close, they won't hit the pistons. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's check it out. Ready to time this left-hand head. What we're going to do is, this camshaft's in the right position. This little dowel facing up. This one is not. This dowel should be facing that way. So we're going to turn this camshaft, and then we're going to put a tool down in there to hold the camshafts. This being a new head, we had to put a new tensioner in here. So the tensioner is just this guy, and it goes into this housing, and you swap out this guide from the old one. As soon as we get all the chains on it, we're going to use our pressure primer. We're going to use our little garden sprayer pressure primer, and we're going to pump all the tensioners up, make sure everything's good before we put the cover on it and go any further. Because this thing's a pain in the neck to access if we got a problem once we get it back in the chassis. Once we've got those cams set, then we can take, we're going to put our chain, we've got our two color links here, and we're going to put them, there's a dot right there, and we're going to put it on the L. There's an L and an R. We're going to put it on the L and the dot, and that'll line up those to those dowel pins on the camshaft. New bolts for the cam gears to hold it on. We'll put that on, we'll torque it, and then we'll be ready for the guides. These two guys, and the primary chain and tensioner. And then we'll be done with timing. Timing will be all set. And we got to swap over our our VCT solenoids from the old cylinder head. Put them in here. So, I mean, these tools you can do without them, but they come in they're real handy because this cam has this lube has pressure on it, and these lubes have pressure on them. That's relaxed, that's relaxed, and that's relaxed. But when you've got pressure, the cam will rock a little bit, turn a little bit. Now these are in a line, so if we didn't have this tool, and we had to turn these camshafts while we're putting this assembly on, it would just be aggravating. But now they're aligned and we don't have to worry about it. We can just slide our cam gears right on there. Now the tool's not foolproof. You can have the cams 180 out, the tool will still slide on there. So that's why you need to make sure that your intake is up, and your camshafts facing the intake. Intake dowel is up, exhaust dowel is facing the camshaft. Alright, so now let's put the gears on. So I got my intake camshaft gear not facing me, exhaust camshaft gear with the L facing me. Can't mess this up. Colored link with the L. Color link on the dot. So my color links on the dot, and our keyway dial pin's facing 12 o'clock. Color link on our L, and our hole for our dial pin is facing the camshaft. So let's put it on. In case you wonder what I'm doing, these dowel pins are real small, and you gotta be careful to make sure they're lining up correctly. The torque on these bolts is a lot. So if you didn't quite get into the dowel pin, and thought you were but you weren't, you can just drive this in and crush it. You can just crush that pin to powder. So we just want to make sure that these fit real loose into that pin before I tighten them down. And this one's giving me trouble. This one's in. This one's giving me a little fight. All I did was rotate the cam with this wrench a little bit. Got it to slide right on there. Ready to torque these. And the torque on these is hella tight. So torque at 30 foot-pounds to seat the gears, back it off, torque at 18 foot-pounds, and then turn 180 degrees. It's tight. See the tension that put on that timing guide there. It's not really designed to do what I was doing. I should have, really just hold it on the camshafts. Now that we've got our secondary guides, chains, gears, all that mess into place, we are ready to put the primary chain on. So these are timed, and they are timed to the engine. Crankshaft is not. So we'll bring the crankshaft into time and put our chain on. Now I need to get the crankshaft where it needs to be. So I'm just going to rotate it to where that's about 11 o'clock. I'm just using the flywheel bolts in the back of the crankshaft. It's a little easier to turn than trying to put something in here and turn it. So, we'll call that right there. We'll leave it right there for right now, and then we'll move it more if we have to. Slide our crank gear on. Put our guide on. Now I've got a brand new timing chain, so it makes it really easy to see the links. And we've got one purple paint link, and a couple of copper colored. Now the double link goes on the crankshaft. So we'll thread this thing through the VCPs, cam gears, which isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. This still has the solenoids on it, so it makes it difficult. And let's see here. I'll bring this one up first. get that one on the mark. And down around the camshaft, water pump. And get it on this mark. Alright, so we're all there, we're good there. Tension on the water pump. Throw a little guide on here. Now we got to set the crankshaft. So we're on up here, we're on over here. Let's set it down here, and then we'll put the tension ring. Well, we looked up, it's already on it. Could be just a little tighter. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me reposition it. So what we're dealing with now, as you can see that little bit of slack. I grab the chain here. I really don't, I want that tight up on the gear. It wouldn't take much for that to fall off of there. I mean, it lined up pretty good. All I did was just throw it on. It lined up really good. I want to take that slack up. So that'll keep the chain from wanting to jump off the gear, and it'll make it easier to put the guide over here on, because we don't want this side of the chain tight, we want this side tight. There's the tensioner guide. That tensioner. I'll torque that down. A heck of a shadow there. Hope you can see all that. Alright, let's have a look here. So, we're still on our dot down there. We're on our guide. Coming up and around. Sorry for the glare. And sun's coming up over there. On our dot there. Coming around and around. On our water pump. On our guides. On our guides. We're on our dot there. Come around. We're on that guide. And we've got plenty of slack. So now I'm going to pull the pin. I'm going to hold that chain tight when I do that. So I'm going to hold this chain tight. Like so. And pull the pin. Now the next step is to actually activate this tensioner. You just simply push on it. And you just simply push on it to activate it. Now there's no need to roll the engine. You don't need to roll the engine a bunch of times. It's time. I mean, it's a done deal. We don't have to worry about it. I am going to just turn the engine just a little bit. So I'm going to pull our guides out. Excuse me, I'm going to pull our chain timing tools, cam timing tools. It's early, okay? Bear with me on this thing. Then I'm going to turn the motor just a little bit. Alright, so we got everything good to go.